Winging. Today's video is about winging. Winging is when you lengthen the medial part of your ankle or the middle part of your ankle that connects your leg to your big toe and shorten the lateral part of your ankle. It's the opposite of the dreaded and ugly sickling, which is where you do the opposite. You shorten the medial part of your ankle and you stretch the lateral part of your ankle. Flexibility is important, but winging is not of much use unless you can turn out and actually show your winged foot. So for example, in tendu, you need a lot of turnout to help keep your heel down or heel forward and keep your toes back. When you wing in releve, that means you push all of your weight forward onto the big toe, even more than usual. It's especially common to see winging in point shoes. Usually your weight is between the first two toes, the big toe and the second toe, but in point shoes to wing you have to balance almost on the tip of your big toe. People that are hypermobile, for example, people that can push their heels all the way forward like this, might have an easier time winging their feet, but if you're not this flexible, don't be too jealous because too much flexibility can be dangerous. If you don't have the strength to support your flexibility, it's really easy to get injured. So here's a little exercise to help you target those turnout muscles and help you keep your heel forward whenever you're trying to wing your foot. Sit on your butt. Put your feet together, like you're clapping your feet together. Put your heels up towards the ceiling, and you can touch your heels together too if you need to. Keep your knees down and try to keep your toes on the floor the whole time. Try to slide your legs forward, straighten your legs, but try to keep your heels up to the ceiling the whole time. It's going to get harder and harder the more you straighten your legs, but keep fighting for it, and you should feel a little burning sensation in your thigh muscles. That's an important muscle you need to turn out. To practice winging to the back, lay on your belly with your knees to the side and practice lifting up your pinky toes up to the ceiling. Don't let them droop. This comes in handy for things like an attitude to the back, an arabesque to the back, anytime when your leg is behind you, even tendu to the back. It's important to use your turnout and activate your thigh muscles because look, right here I'm winging my foot, but you can't see it. You can't see a winged foot if you're turned in. You have to turn your leg out so the top of your foot faces outwards. Same thing goes to the back too. If I'm turned in and winging, you can't tell until I rotate my whole leg and show the top of my foot to the audience. You can practice this when you're doing anything at the bar. Check yourself in the mirror. Make sure you can see your kneecaps in the mirror and the tops of your feet in the mirror. Make sure you're turning out. Here's another little exercise. So when you're standing in the mirror, start in plie. It's a little easier to pop your heel forward when you bend both legs. And then slowly try to straighten your knee while keeping the top of your foot in the mirror. Keep your heel forward and make sure that you can see your kneecap, which means you're turning out, in the mirror. Point shoes can help give you a little more traction. Just keep practicing this movement over and over, but make sure you don't stick your butt out behind you. Another way to find this feeling is to practice doing a small attitude forward, but imagine your toes are pointing down to the floor. To the back, you kind of have to do the opposite and imagine that your toes are trying to lift up to the ceiling. Imagine that the floor is too hot and you don't want your big toe to touch the floor. Lift it. Sometimes you can misinterpret this feeling as flexing your foot, and it is easier to wing when your foot is flexed, but you have to be careful not to do that, because when you're on stage, people can see all angles of your feet. Your foot must appear pointed at every angle, so don't compromise your point just to wing your foot. Whether you're winging to the front or the back, you always lengthen the big toe part of your leg, and you always shorten the pinky toe part of your leg. And if you're turning out, your heel is always forward or down, and your toes should always feel like they're back or up if they're behind you. But just be careful not to put too much weight. Don't use pressure to make your wing happen. Having a flexible medial ankle while you're turned out really is what gives the wing its look. So anytime you start stretching or reaching to touch your toes, practice doing it turned out, not just turned in. You need to maintain that turnout and maintain that flexible medial part of your ankle while pointing your foot. Releve is where things can get a little dangerous. If you're constantly forcing your weight, you can put a lot of pressure on your tendons and kind of grind them away. and give yourself an injury. It's much safer to do a neutral demi-point, which means your weight is evenly distributed between toes 1 and 2. Sickling is when you lean to the lateral part or your pinky toes. That's where sprains happen. Winging is when you push it over the big toe and bend to the ankle. Neutral really is the safest. Just concentrate more on winging the leg that's not bearing any weight. If you want to learn more, you can watch my proper releve for beginners tutorial. I talk a lot about winging and pointing your feet. As a fun little side note, if you've been staring at my leggings the whole time, wondering what the deal is, these are photos of my actual cat. You can get leggings with pictures of your pets printed on them. Go to petlegs.com if you want to wear fun leggings just like this.